Hey, this is Kirk Graham. You are listening to the Making of an Exception podcast. And today we've got Perry Smith in the building. What's up, Perry?
What's up?
Thanks for being here, man.
I'm excited.
Perry is, you're a photographer, you're a husband, you're soon to be a dad. We're going to talk all about that stuff. Woo. And today we're talking about your life story, your whole life story. I mean, the whole thing. I'm just kidding.
I love it.
It's going to take 12 hours.
On.
No. But yeah, just your journey. The whole point of this podcast and channel is to share stories of people that are an exception to the rule. The fact that you are who you are today is amazing. I mean, and I'm going to let you share just about your journey of how you got to where you are today and who you are today. But just, before we jump in, I've known you, it's probably been like 7 years now.
Yeah,
back when
crazy.
you were in high school at the time, and who you've become today is, I mean, it's a miracle. God's done so much in your life. And I look back at somebody that you had so much vision for your life, so much passion, and you got into photography, and God's just like open up door after door after door. And I'm sure it's not always been easy, but you're somebody, you mean a lot in my life. I look up to your drive. I look up to your organizational skills. I look up to how even though you're younger than me, I officiated your wedding. How you're leading your family is an inspiration. And so how about you just jump in and share a little bit just about who you are, where you're at today, and a little bit of your family as well?
Yeah. Well, my name is Perry, photographer in the Minneapolis area. Primarily doing weddings and portraits. I've been doing that the last 7 years or so, really. Yeah. But I'm married. I've married just under 2 years. We're expecting our first baby, a little girl, in a few weeks here. So our life has changed very drastically, I feel like, in the last 9 months, basically, getting ready for this baby. We moved houses in the middle of winter in Minnesota.
Is the nursery set up?
It's almost there. Should be there by the end of the week. Bags are packed, everything. Yeah, it's crazy. You're kind of getting to that final stage, which I'm sure you're aware of, where it's like any second is go time, which is crazy. But yeah, everything is, that's kind of where we're at right now. So it's been a lot of focus on getting ready to be a dad and kind of step into that and grow our family. But overall, wedding season picks up in the summer here in the Midwest, really. But so I'm getting ready for that. Starts next week and then kind of goes till the end of November.
I remember talking to you just the last few years, and sometimes you're doing like 2 or 3 weddings in a weekend. You're running like
I try not to do that anymore.
It's insane.
I learned my lesson.
Like,
but I think with anything, when you're starting anything entrepreneurial, you just want to get your feet wet and get in and get going. And so for me, it was you take on anything you can. And then you get into that a few years and you have a wife and eventually a family, and you're like, maybe I should stop doing
like
that.
What's healthy?
What is your work-life balance supposed to be? And I feel like that's probably the season of life I'm in now, is really trying to figure out what that is. But
baby will change everything.
Yeah.
Baby will change everything.
Still have a hard time turning down. I'll still do a few weddings in a weekend if I can.
Well, tell me a little bit about your upbringing. I know some of your story and the family that you've been a part of, but just you have you're a twin.
Yeah, I'm a twin.
You have a twin brother. But talk about your family.
Yeah, so I have a twin brother and a younger sister, and I feel like that was like the coolest group of people to grow up with. My twin brother and I were about as polar opposite as you could be. I have 2 parents. They are awesome, a great example of love and life and following the Lord for their life. And I've learned a lot from them.
So you grew up in the church?
Grew up in the church. Yep. My parents were always, and I'm learning more about this as I get older, they were always on staff as volunteers, in some capacity. So
from your perspective as a kid, you grew up with parents that were in the ministry. Maybe they're not vocational, working at the church, but
sure,
that's the level of involvement.
I mean, they would have been on staff if there was, the opportunity to be paid for that position. Yeah. But they were holding that position. So my earliest, memories of the local church are going into a local high school and setting up and tearing down. That's what I remember. And that was church, was like you go in, and my parents ran the K through 8th grade, young kids ministry. And that was kind of their role. And so always got to interact within the church, the local church. So I'd say like immediately from birth, the gospel was surrounding my life and our family's life.
Yeah. I wonder if
Yeah.
some of like the hustle of setting up, tearing down church, and like
maybe.
parents dragging
Yeah.
you early on, like you know, I don't know if you're leaving the house at 6 a.m. to set up church and do
Yeah.
all this stuff, and kids.
It was
ministry.
early, yeah.
Like that is kind of like the hustle that you do now on wedding days.
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
It's all day long, right? Like it's 12 hours or 14 hours or whenever the
Yeah,
dance
it's kind of a sprint.
gets done or all that. Like,
Yeah.
you were raised in that environment, and now you live a profession that it takes that level of hustle.
Yeah, and I think what's cool, even off of that, is like the example that the people that are, you know, leading you in life set. You kind of see that, and subconsciously you're affected by that. So for me, my parents, they worked really hard. They're in many ways the first people to carry Christianity into their family, into their life as kind of first generation Christians. So what's cool about that is they were just going for it, trying to figure it out. And
it's
and
not
do their
something
thing.
necessarily that was like, oh, this is what we've always done. This is our
Yeah,
family. It was
yeah.
a new path
Yeah.
and legacy for your family that you got to
For
you got
sure.
to be the benefactor of. You got to be the children of that.
And I
which is
think like
amazing.
learning that is like the coolest thing. I mean, it humbles you a lot. For me, both my parents grew up in rural areas, 6 and 12 hours away from the Twin Cities, like in the middle of nowhere. My
Yeah,
dad
in the
worked
sticks,
on,
man.
Yeah, dad worked on a grain elevator. My mom grew up on a farm.
I don't even know
like,
what that is.
Just crazy. And it's cool. It's been really fun to see, see their lives transform. And I feel like they really helped us. They gave us kind of like the golden ticket. Like, hey, we're going to do everything we can to set up a great environment for our kids to hopefully make great decisions and take advantage of the opportunity that we're giving them by, moving or by placing ourselves in this location. So, so that's kind of a little bit of my background, but I have a twin brother, a younger sister. They're all creative. We all kind of got some sort of creative bone. My brother's a web programmer. He's a developer.
He's a genius.
Yes, he's a low-key genius, knows a lot of those languages. I don't know anything about it, but
I heard that
cool.
he's the crypto guy.
He is the crypto guy.
Crypto King.
Yeah, don't
find
listen
him on
to his
Twitter.
advice.
Crypto
I'm just
King.
kidding.
I'm
No,
just
it's
kidding.
not. Yeah, Litecoin King. No, I'm just kidding. Don't look that up on Twitter.
I don't know what that means. Yeah.
It's okay. You don't have to.
So that's your family, and
That's
that's
my
what you're
family.
raised in.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. How did you and when did you get involved in photography? Was it just something like a hobby or something that sparked in you? Did you have somebody that you looked up to? Like, man, he does photography. I want to do what he's doing.
For sure. Yeah. So, again, kind of like a blessing in disguise. The world of photography changed as our generation, anyone that's in their 20s, like as they became adults, the whole landscape changed, no pun intended.
Are you talking like film to digital?
Yeah, film to digital.
Or like even digital to like a phone?
Yeah, all three of those, I guess. Really, though, like the interactive part. So it's no longer, I mean, there's still a place, but it wasn't like growing up as a kid, every year you go get your birthday photos taken at a studio. I don't know if everybody did that, so it could be kind of weird. But but if you did, sorry. There you go. Thanks.
Dressing up, taking me down to JCPenney for photos.
And so, for me, the first wave of it was I was trying to figure out how to make some money in high school. Like as a freshman in high school, I couldn't get a job. And I saw like McDonald's is hiring 14-year-olds. Didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was legal, but whatever, they got to figure it out. Anyways, I couldn't get a job at 14 anywhere. So I was like, what can I do? And my parents had this kind of library of old digital electronics, one of them being a camera, that they just had in the closet. And so eBay
library. They just had
like
stuff.
They just had a bunch of like
they had a museum.
It was like
in our house of old
small
gear.
museum. Nothing too big. No, they had this little closet, and they just like all their old electronics, like as they aged out, they just kept in there. So they had like a classic camcorder, things like that. But they had this
floppy
Sony.
disks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you even know does anyone? Hopefully, you know what a floppy disk is. If you don't,
Dial-up
Google it.
internet.
Yeah. No. Anyways, so they had this old Sony digital camera, and I was on eBay, and I was like, I could probably get a couple $100 for this thing.
Yeah.
It's 4 megapixels. I don't know why someone would buy it, but try to sell it. So I sold their camera on eBay without them knowing. And then I took the proceeds of it, and they were like, why did you just sell our camera? Yeah. And I was like, well, I needed some money. And they were like, stop selling our stuff online.
What do you need money for? Drug money?
Yeah, of course. No. I was, just trying to pay for gas and McDonald's, like, I don't know, classic teenager's
Work at
life.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Different story.
So kind of went through that like buying and selling phase, but I figured out, hey, if I could buy these electronics or get them used from people, sell them for a little bit more, I could make some money. So I started flipping digital cameras on eBay. So I probably sold like four cameras, and then I was like, well, I should probably take photos of the cameras too. And so kind of got into taking landscape photos, wasn't doing anything of people. And I can like remember just taking these cool sunset photos that I thought were really cool. It's fun. Any photographer, if you look back at any artist, you look at the first work you created and you're always like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But I was using like free web apps and things like that
Horrifying.
Just don't exist anymore. Yeah. And you're like, I'm
still better
paint
than the
on
photos
the
I could take. So.
I don't know. I mean,
pretty sure.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
So there was that, and pretty sure. Yeah. So that was how I got into it. But really what spurred me into it and what really the intersection of my faith, my vocation, and kind of like what my life purpose transformed into was when I was 15, I got diagnosed with cancer. And as a 15-year-old, I was a runner in high school. And so I did track, cross country, and Nordic skiing, which is cross country skiing if you're not in the Midwest or anywhere with snow.
We're in Minnesota.
Yeah. So it's not fun. I mean, it's fun. But
Wasn't there a cross country skier that just won the gold in the Olympics from Minnesota? Did you hear that?
Probably. Yeah. I think it was a female, right?
Yeah. I don't know her name, but
just crushed it.
She's representing.
More. Yeah. She'd probably like lap me 12 times on a 5K, which is an accomplishment. So anyways, I always got lapped in 5Ks, which is sad. Because
what?
Like, yeah.
So you were not good.
I was like, yeah, I was there to train and not be good.
Be fit. Side note, one time we went paintballing. It was at a bachelor party. Yeah, just quick.
Oh no.
We went paintballing.
I'm so sorry in advance. I know what's happening.
Yeah, and we started. It's the first time I've ever been like legit paintballing, like war zone paintballing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was stoked about it. They give you a mask, protect your eyes. But I just wore pants and a t-shirt, and we were out there. And you somehow we got divvied up in teams. You were on the opposite team of me.
Yes.
And in the first game, like how it works is like it's like, okay, everybody's alive, and then when you get shot, you're dead.
Yeah.
And in the first game, you shot me in the head.
I apologize.
And it was the most painful thing. I wanted to quit right there, but we couldn't because we're trying to support our buddy who's about to get married.
Yes.
And so we had like 8 games or 10 games left.
Man.
Hours and hours. And the rest of the day, I was so afraid of getting hit. So side note, you ruined my life on the paintball field.
I'm so sorry. You were downhill from me. Do you remember that?
It hurts.
You were downhill. It was like...
Yeah, cheap shot.
Anyway, yeah, cheap shot. Hey, but we had some other friends there, and they did quit after they got hit, if you remember.
Yeah.
Just walked
we
off.
won't mention their names.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Also, we had a buddy, same thing. This is a great conversation. We won't name names, but he blacked out. He was so somehow he was so scared in a moment that because everyone was against him.
Yes.
Everybody was coming after him, and he woke up after blacking out and was like, what just happened? Anyways.
Yeah, you got shot a lot.
That was a good day paintballing.
Yeah.
Worst day of my life.
Yes. Worst. And then you officiated our wedding like a year later. Mm-hmm. So we reconciled.
Somehow.
Yeah. Please don't shoot me with a paintball.
I don't know. You got cancer. Sorry.
Yes. Oh, no. Yeah, which is not a funny thing, but good transition. Yeah, so, it was running. Obviously, when you're running, you're in fairly good shape. And so I had this giant lump on my neck, and I was in high school. And obviously, when you're in high school, you probably care a lot. I mean, most people care how they look, but in high school, you're like pretty conscious of it.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids were like, "Hey, what's wrong with your neck?" I was like, "I don't know what's wrong with my neck." So, anyways, long story short, I ended up going in and they diagnosed it as lymphoma, which is a form of cancer, and it's in your lymph nodes. My lymph nodes were just freaking out. And so through that process, there's like miracle after miracle after miracle in my life. But at the same time, there was this parallel of like tragedy. And so from age 15 to 17, I lost 3 family members to cancer. And I ended up being cancer free. So it was this very, very crazy journey. I had surgery and kind of walked through the process, and it's just wild. One day you could wake up, and for me, this was the reality, was one day you wake up and then everything that you found security in, you realize holds no security at all. There is so much that's out of our control.
Yeah.
And that loss of control, I'll never forget that, where you're just like, okay, I don't actually control my fate.
Yeah.
And you just start asking really tough questions. So that's kind of crazy to walk through as a young person. For me, I felt like it really added a few years to my life, just because you have to start asking these questions and walking and seeing family members battle cancer and ultimately win the fight, but they lost their life here on earth. Changes your entire world, and watching your family go through that and just how to grieve and grieve properly and things like that.
Yeah.
So anyways, all of that prompted this curiosity into what is my faith. You know, I'd always grown up around it. So you grow up and you're subjected to, well, you are a Christian because you're here. Whatever.
Yeah, you're part of this family.
Yeah,
so you're a
I probably
Christian,
gave my life to Christ when I was 6, you know,
for sure.
20 times. And
Yeah.
every year did it 20 times again until I realized, that's not quite how it works.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, you're in, like, you're good. And so when I was 15, I can remember I came home, one of those car rides. I don't know if anyone's ever had, like, probably have car ride that's just awkward, but you go to the hospital, they're like, hey, you have cancer. You get in the car and no one says anything. Cause like, what's there to say? You're with your parents and you're like, and maybe maybe
I can't imagine
you
as
just
a-
like,
as
it's
a dad.
just a shell shock. I mean, you don't see it coming. And so I remember I got home and, I just ran upstairs and I was like, this is just the most like classic thing, but grabbed my Bible and I'm like, God, if you're real, like I need something today because this is not what I was planning. And opened my Bible and it was Jeremiah 30:17, which is for I will restore you to health and heal your wounds, declares the Lord.
No way.
And so for me, that was like just a little bit of a nugget, like a little sign like, hey, I'm still in control.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily know what the outcome's going to be because you got to walk through that stove, but you're like, okay, I'm just going to choose right now to believe that whatever the outcome is, that you're walking with me in it.
Yeah.
You're just right there with me. So that really was like probably where faith and a little bit of faith and my walk with the Lord, like where it all kind of intersected, it became this thing where it's like, okay, this is for real.
It's
I'll take this
interesting
for real.
that on the darkest day of your life, finding out that you have cancer, and your family finding out you have, your parents finding out their son has cancer.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I think, as we live this life, there's going to be dark days. You know, maybe not to that extent. Not everybody's going to get cancer.
Yeah.
But dark days, and you had this like end of the rope feeling, and the loss of control. I remember my wife got pregnant for the second time. So we have a 3-year-old daughter, and she got pregnant, and then we miscarried that kid. And the feeling of like, wow, the first time it went so smooth, and now we lost this child.
Yeah.
And you realize in that moment, like I have, I thought it was all like a for sure thing.
Yeah.
And it's not a for sure thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this end of the rope feeling of, God, I need some type of reassurance that you're with me. And, the Bible's full of awesome stuff about who God is in those moments. Classic examples of like, he's peace in the midst of the storm. There's a scripture that talks about he's the God of all comfort. He's going to comfort us in the middle of our affliction. And you had that moment, the darkest day of your life. You open up to that verse, and there's a glimmer of hope. Like, man, there's something real beyond this. And sometimes it takes that, in regards to faith, it takes that, like getting to this dark day to have a real moment of, this isn't just the faith that I was raised in. This isn't just my family's thing. I'm actually going to search this out for myself. And it's just cool to hear that God proved himself to you.
And like, even in that moment, that is the defining moment in my life that I feel like trajectory, everything shifted. I can look back to the one moment and be like, this is the day that when everything ended up being okay and everything worked itself out, it was, I will never live another day just at the wayside, letting life take me in any direction. It was
just you alone in your bedroom. Just you and God.
That's it.
It's so cool.
And I think, even if it's not to the extent of that crazy of a circumstance, everybody has bad things happen in life. So you're going to get to the point where something is disappointment to you in life. and you get to make a decision about it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it really reminded me that no matter what you do, where you're at, who you are, whether you're walking in faith or you're not, you still have that opportunity to choose, in many ways, the outcome or what you are working towards as the outcome.
Yeah.
So
totally. And now you're cancer free.
Yeah, cancer free. It's crazy. At the same time that I was going through my journey, my aunt was battling cancer, starting in her appendix,
and she passed away.
And she passed away, and she got married in her 40s.
Did you have feelings of why did she pass away, but then I get healed, or like guilt feelings, or like feelings of like?
Yeah, I think
obviously it's hard to comprehend.
Yeah, natural comparison, right? You have two people that both.
Yeah, why can't she open up the same scripture?
Exactly.
And God's going to heal, why, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think in many ways, her name was Anne. So Anne taught me a lot by the way that she lived her life. Married in her late 40s, so late to get married. Technically, married a gentleman.
Hey, if you're 40 and over, there's hope for you, though.
Yeah,
you got
for
this.
Sure. But married this wonderful guy named Eddie, and Eddie was killed a year or 2 years after they got married in a car accident from someone ran a stop sign and killed him. So she had already walked through some fire in her life, some tragedy of losing her husband. And then a year after that gets diagnosed with appendix cancer. And that ends up, 4 or 5 years later, taking her life. But in the process of her living out her faith, and she loved the Lord, she was able to communicate so many things that have subconsciously affected my life and my family's life about what does your faith mean? What do you live when you, she worked 40 hours a week while doing chemo. I mean, it's like the craziest thing, like rounds and rounds of chemo. So she'd pass out at work and they'd be like, oh, Ann passed out from chemo again. Let's wake her back up and she'll get back to it. Yeah, so she was situationally forced to kind of maintain this rigorous schedule, but she maintained this incredible amount of joy. And I received a letter from my aunt in the classic, writes you a letter, and you're like, what the heck? And it was
like on her deathbed, she's like writing family members.
Right before, so she needed money. She just needed money, and this is kind of leads into this nonprofit, but when I was in high school, she needed money for groceries, and I was starting to do some photography. So I figured, hey, I could do some photo sessions and donate the proceeds to her. Yeah. So I did that, but she basically wrote me a letter saying thank you for that, and it was funny. It was like a card, and then she had attached a piece of notebook paper that she had folded up, and I have this piece of paper, and it just says, I don't know why God's plan for my life was this horrible disease and just this pain and this suffering. But I know that God has allowed me to walk through it to show other people that he's always there. Wow. That he's there through every part of it. And so that I keep that as a great reminder, that even the people that have the darkest, hardest lives, that they know what the ending is. We all know what the ending is this life is temporary, but for her, she knew it was coming, and she knew that no matter what, she was not going to go out without living purposefully and making sure other people saw that. So, so
and her story now causes you to live with that same purpose. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's like the fuel to the fire.
So talk about that. So she inspired you to start nonprofit Photos That Give. Yeah. And what I've seen over the last few years, and the money that you've been able to raise for some great causes, and how you've inspired other photographers to kind of get in the game of making a difference and living with purpose. Talk about how that started and where it's at today.
Yeah, I'll just run it back real quick to photography. So I started selling
steer the interview wherever you want to go. You know
what? Just to give some context. So I sold my parents' camera, and then I got my own. And I ended up buying and selling that camera to keep upgrading. So that's how, instead of like saving up a bulk ton of money, because to get in, there's a little bit of overhead. When you're in high school, it's a lot of money. And even when you're out of high school, it's a lot of money.
So buy and sell.
Buy and sell, just kept working up. And I went through 5 Canon cameras all the way up to the 5D series. So I'm kind of in that realm now.
Sure.
Which is, if you take photos, it's a wedding workhorse. A lot of people use it.
Exactly.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
The specs are big. Yeah. Let's talk gear. Let's talk gear.
I brought it with me actually. So I started taking photos for fun. So as a junior in high school, photos of my friends, senior portrait, things like that. And so I ended up convincing kids my junior year to start paying me to take their senior photos, and don't know how that happened, but was awesome.
Yeah, you probably felt like you were faking it to make it. Like,
oh yeah,
just like,
heck yeah. I shot my first wedding when I was 17. So I don't know who trusts 17-year-olds shoot their wedding, but thank you.
yeah, you didn't screw it up though.
Yeah, Bible college students. That's who trusts you on a budget.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. Yes.
Somehow you killed it
Yeah.
and have built an amazing business.
It ended up working out. It was
Yeah.
really cool. But anyways, so like I said, my junior year of high school, and I was doing those senior portraits. That's the same time I started to raise that money for my aunt.
Yeah.
And that kind of got me on this like philanthropic adrenaline. Like, oh my goodness, if you do this, you can do what you love.
Yeah.
And you can actually help people while you do it. It's like the craziest concept to me, because it was like, wow, how can I, here's this vocation that has a lot of unknowns. Anybody that's self-employed, anyone that owns their own business or is a creative, there's a lot of unknowns. If you take the jump and do it on your own, you're hoping that work comes in, you're working kind of hard, but you can do what you love and love people through what you do. And I think that's like the coolest thing ever. So we started, I did that my junior year, raised about $4,000 for my aunt. My senior year raised $10,000 for a missions organization called Speed the Light that the local churches here in the area raise money for, and they provide like amphibious vehicles to missionaries that need them all over the world.
Amphibious vehicles.
Yeah, they'll be like, hey, they need 4-wheelers.
So people that are serving around the world,
Yeah.
Teenagers are a part of these churches are funding Speed the Light to provide vehicles. For
Yeah, I
those
think they
missionaries,
still
yeah.
do it actually, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
which
it still
is
happens.
amazing. So anyways, freshman year of college.
So you raised $10,000 on your own.
Yeah, on my own. Yeah,
And gave it away.
Yeah, it was like 45 sessions in the month of October, and it was awesome. And you just get the opportunity when you're doing stuff out of generosity. There is something that's paid forward in your own life and the lives of those around you.
So the sessions that you were
amazing.
doing, did they know that this is what their payment is going towards?
Yeah, many of them.
So they're able to. There's a set fee or there's a donation. Or
Yeah, we got to that point where it was like, hey, this is the session fee. If you want to go above and beyond, we loved it. I mean, it all goes to a great cause.
I'm sure a bunch of people give above and beyond. They're stoked about it.
I mean, story after story where you're families that are just so generous, and you're like, are you kidding me? I can't believe you're doing that. That's amazing.
So in 1 month, you raised $10,000.
Correct.
How old were you?
18.
You're 18 years old.
17.
17.
Yeah,
you give
yeah.
away $10,000.
Yeah, it was awesome. And
That is awesome.
I mean, it was again like so fun to see because again, you grow up in this culture and it's a lot of giving, a lot of focus on that. But when you're giving your talent and your time away, it's like the most rewarding thing in the world. It's not necessarily monetary reward, but you get the best conversations and experiences. And so I'm a big fan of giving. I think it's important for anybody in any walk of life to do it in some capacity, whether it's financial or time. You can just be a blessing to other people. And so, family, parents, everybody modeled that. And then it was like, wait, this is amazing. Just give it a try. So my freshman year of college, kind of got to that month of October again. This would be the third time around, and it was like, man, we should do this thing for real. Like this has got some legs, I think. And so we launched a nonprofit. It's called Photos That Give, and the whole premise is during the month of October. One of the premises is during the month of October, photographers donate the proceeds from one session that they take during that month. We pool it all together, give it away to another nonprofit.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Photos That Give started the first year. What was the organization that you gave to?
We split it with two local organizations here in Minnesota. So one was called Wishes and More, which is like Make-A-Wish Foundation, but local to Minneapolis, so the hospitals here. And then Feed My Starving Children. So we raised $18,000 that year, gave $9,000 and $9,000 to each. It was like the coolest thing we did. It was like 40,000 meals got paid for from Feed My Starving Children.
Wow.
And we granted one wish to a kid that had terminal cancer. Wow. And gave some scholarships of hope to a couple people. So they get these $1,000 scholarships for college eventually. Gives them this, something to work towards and that's in the future. So
it's amazing really, how many photographers joined that first year.
We had probably 30 plus that donated and were a part of it, and that most of them local. So just kind of here. And the cool thing is social media was just erupting at that point. So it was very easy to get in contact with other photographers.
Hey, would you donate one session in
here's what we're doing,
or as many as you want?
Exactly. And we've had people go above and beyond. And so as a nonprofit, as an official 501c3, this will be our 4th year this October.
Yeah.
So it's been amazing. We've partnered with a few organizations and just gotten to see a huge influx of
you gave
great things
to
happen.
Bob Goff's organization.
Yes, yeah.
And then
Love
A21,
Does,
right?
Yep, and A21. Yeah. So Love Does is an organization. They found schools in areas that of conflict for women and children.
Yep.
So they're in a lot of the countries that you see on the news.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do as much good as they can, and a powerful organization. Really love them. And A21 is fighting human trafficking. Mm-hmm. Again, an incredible cause. And Christine Kane's the founder and just crushes in that realm. So,
and you're doing it again this October.
Yeah, this October.
Trying to inspire as many photographers.
Yeah.
Or I know it's photos I give.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there's like other creatives or videographers, anybody can donate, right?
For sure. Yeah. It's just the idea is to spur philanthropy in the entrepreneurial world. So if you work for yourself in some way, shape, or form, here's a way that you can be generous as a community. Yeah. And just give back together. And we'll, find an organization, and they're doing great work on the ground, and we want to help them and bless them.
Do you know who you're giving to
we don't
this
yet.
year?
No. So if any candidates out there, let me know.
Yeah, people like pitching their ideas.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about starting a little nonprofit.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's been wonderful. You get the chance. I mean, anyone that's getting their photos taken, to the photographers that are participating, they have story after story that's just, life-changing. Because I think when your heart is focused on generosity for the right reasons, it pays itself forward in ways that through conversations and relationships and things that you just never imagine.
Yeah. So, did you ever think that you'd be doing this at your age? Obviously, I mean, family life, you're married, about to have a kid.
Yeah,
and life's about to change. Mm-hmm. But you're a successful business dude. And you are running a nonprofit that is inspiring now hundreds of photographers over the years that are donating their sessions and things like that, which is impacting people around the world. I mean, you're living a big life, and I'll let you answer the question in a second, but there's a Bible verse that talks about the world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller, but the world of the generous gets bigger and bigger. Yeah. And you've lived a generous life since walking through the whole cancer deal. Yeah. And your aunt Anne inspiring you to live this generous life. And it's just, to me, it's like proof that God's word is true, that your world, because of being generous and being who you are, has gotten to this big realm, and it's going to get bigger. I mean, God's infinite, So as you continue to lead the life that you do, I know God's going to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. Did you ever think that you'd be doing this?
No. I mean, I originally went to school for pastoral studies, which is funny.
No way, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So you're going to go into ministry?
Yeah, I was going to go into ministry, and I think that will always be a part of my life. I have seen the impact as a first person. And then as like a youth group leader and things like that. So you get the chance to see what that does for people, and really the mentorship and walking with people in relationship. I love that. So
let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So feeling like, hey, I'm called into ministry. God like changes your trajectory, your path. I think there's people out there that may feel like, I gave my life to Jesus or started going to church. Like this is all great. I love this. Am I supposed to do the ministry thing? Like, I feel like that's the next step for me. Like, do you feel like you're making less of an impact? I mean, it's kind of like a trick question, because obviously not. Like, how do you live your life in ministry? And you saw it in your parents.
It took a while to get there. It takes a while, because you ask that same question. You're like, man, am I doing the right thing? Because I went to school to be a pastor and ended up being a photographer. So it's like they're very different vocations. But I think when God says that everybody has a part to play in the kingdom, we're all on the same team working towards that same cause. The reality of it is, you all have a part to play in the kingdom, and they all carry similarities. But your personality and what fires you up as a person is really going to help dictate where you land and what you do and where you end up. And so for me, I was using photography as a tool to pay for my education and go to college and try to, do that as debt-free as possible if we could get there. Yeah. And it ended up being, well, wait a minute, this puts me in front of the audience of people that they may never walk into church. They probably won't, but they're doing one of the most biblical things in the world. They're getting married and committing their lives to each other. So what an incredible opportunity to join in. I mean, your photographer is there typically from start to finish on the most important day of your life. One of them. So pick a great photographer that you get along with, because otherwise it's crazy.
I got married, and the photographer, I mean, he's in every room, like every intimate moment, like even the engagement photos and like all that stuff. I mean, you're like making out with your wife, soon to be wife.
He's like telling you to make out with your wife.
I know, it's like encouraging. This is awesome. It looks great. Yeah, but like,
you're like, wait a minute,
feels weird. You're in these intimate settings.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that maybe you're doing photos for haven't been around church or don't know
for sure
the message of Jesus, you know, or that, but you carry that. And so,
you get to live it out and just love on them and do that. So, so for me, that's like the coolest aspect of the job. But as a young person, in our world, there's a lot of metrics of success. Like, what does success look like? And for me, it changed very quickly, especially from the previous experience being in the hospital, of like, success is not necessarily financial gain or having a ton of stuff. I mean, those things are awesome. And if they fire you up, cool. But for me, it was like with my aunt, like these relationships and the time you spend with people is the most important thing. And so slowly but surely, I feel like I want, what we're aspiring towards, my wife Mariah and I, is to live a life that just has meaningful relationships and welcome. Like yesterday, we met our neighbors and talked for like 35 minutes. And
you just moved.
We just moved, renovating in December.
Like a house.
And when you move in the winter in Minnesota, nobody talks to anybody. The only time you see each other is when you're like shoveling the driveway, and everyone's like shoveling. And they're like, I hate that I live here. Why is there so much snow?
You're like, hey, can I borrow your snowblower? Thanks for nothing.
Yeah, they come over. My neighbors, the first time I met my neighbors, they came over. We had 24 inches of snowfall in April. So that'll just light up your world in a really dark way. And they're like, hey, we saw you shoveling. You've been shoveling for 3 hours. So we figured we'd help you because you're not even halfway done with your driveway.
Yeah, like after 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours. And you're like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, bring over some water. I'm thirsty.
Anyway, so I got to meet him. And just like even in those moments, you're just reminded, like, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, there's people around you. And you'll learn the most from the people around you.
Yeah. And people are watching your guys' life. I mean, you and your wife, Mariah, who's awesome.
My wife is way cooler than I am.
I mean, one day she'll be on this podcast. She's a legend.
Yeah, she's
about
amazing.
to be a mom.
But
people are watching how you guys live your life, and back to the point of what does it look like to have this call, to feel this call, like, should I go into ministry to do pastoral studies? And then God takes a hard right turn with your life. I would bet that you are able to be light in the dark, that in rooms that I'm not able to be light in the dark as a pastor. I live a lot of my time with other Christians, you know, like my day job is literally in the church. And I do my best to spend as much time meeting with people in coffee shops and around the city. But you get to, you know, your job is out there, you know, which is amazing. I think that, as a separate note, like as a pastor, my goal is to do as much of that outside stuff in reaching lost people and being light in the dark, not just a Sunday job, like my job to have a salvation message or something like that, but it's to, I never want to be a pastor that's just behind a desk, you know, and hey, people come to me when they have needs, you know, like, no way, let's be light in the dark out there. But as a photographer, you know, I would bet you're doing just as much ministry as I am by living the life that you do, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's the best part is everybody, both of us get that opportunity. Obviously each comes with some different variables that you have to adjust for. Like you have to, I mean, there are days when you're a wedding photographer and you are surrounded by a bunch of intoxicated people. And it's like either the best day of your life or you could easily make it the worst day of your life. Like, what are those things that you do? How do you, you know, work as a person to your interpersonal communication to get to a point where you can still be loved where you're at? And I love, that you do it because everybody gets that opportunity. You just have to sometimes cater your life. You have to be conscious of how you do that and what you do. And you don't go in guns blazing necessarily. Like, follow Jesus, follow Jesus. I mean, that'd be amazing if you do that as a photographer.
If it worked like that,
know.
everybody's like, yes, great. I mean, which is
really
funny because that's literally how Jesus did it.
Yeah.
For the most part, like he goes to his disciples, like he walks up to these fishermen who are like, some say they're like teenagers. And he's like, hey, come follow me.
Yeah.
And he's like, can I say goodbye to my dad first? Like, nope, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, let's do this.
I'm gonna give that a shot.
Yeah, and people did it.
Probably would work. I don't know.
It's awesome. I think there is something to that in how we live our lives. There had to be something starkly different, drastic about who Jesus was. That when he said that, it was like there's something about this guy. And I think the way that you live your life and what people can see on social media, and the people that follow you, they can tell that there's something different about you. And a lot of your story and upbringing has to do with that. We are the way we are because of the pain that we've experienced, the family that we've been raised in, the good things and opportunities that we've been handed. But there's something different about you that people see. And I think, not that you're saying, hey, give your life to Jesus right now, or hey, come to church with me on Sunday, but just in relationship, they go, I would follow this dude. Like I want to be like Perry, because Perry's like Jesus.
When we've my wife and I, Mariah, we've really tried to, as consciously as we can. The one big thing is we've had people in our life that have led the way. People like you guys, other couples that are maybe 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 25, 30 years ahead of where we're at in life, actually, as far as years go. But then spiritually and life purpose-wise, they've chosen things that we hope to emulate. Yeah. And we've tried our very best to stay in relationship with those people.
Yeah.
So one, that's helped us a ton in our marriage, in our life, like to be focused on the right things. What's going to get you in the happiest way, and where you still are just on fire for each other and on fire for the Lord to 50 years down the road. Follow the people that are doing it right now.
Yeah. In regards to family, what are the things that matter to you?
Yeah.
What are the things that you look towards? Like, you've already said like success is not just a money thing, although I'm sure you have money goals because you also have generosity goals. But but what are the things that matter in your life when you get to the end of your life? Yeah. And hopefully that's a long time from now.
Yeah.
When you look back, what matters to you?
Yeah, I would hope that people remember that Mariah and I were always there. So whoever they are, wherever they're at, that our home, our resources, what God has given us, and whatever we have is not ours, but for those around us. So I think that's probably like the greatest thing. And in our life, we've walked through not just the tragedy of being in the hospital in that moment. That's before I met Mariah. But with every major success, there's always been major hurdles and things that just come out of curveballs, that just come out of nowhere. I think that's everybody's life. You're like, what? This is not how I planned it.
Yeah.
And what we've chosen to do is every curveball, just try to keep the mindset of following Christ and what would Jesus do? Like, just what would he do in this moment? Like, wow, you have every right to be angry at this person forever. Yeah. But our gospel and the message that Jesus has, he's like, love your enemies. And if they're your enemy, really, they should be your friend. You're like, what? It makes ridiculous.
No sense. Like, why?
But those moments have, they are the greatest opportunity to say, I have been wronged, but I will do a tiny little ounce sliver of what maybe Jesus did, and say, instead of being wronged and running with it, I'm going to say, you know what? Actually, you're forgiven.
Yeah.
So what we've tried to do, and again, we're not a perfect example of it, is just say can we be a safe haven? Can we be a place of community for anyone that needs it?
Yeah.
And if we see a need, can we meet it?
Yeah.
There's a good friend of mine that has always said, he's like, the moment that God opens your eyes to see something as a need, you become responsible for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So
that's great. So, I think to up the ante of that point is not just when a need presents itself to us, but are we living a life that is seeking out opportunity?
Yeah.
And that's how you guys have lived your life.
Yeah.
You're seeking ways to, you're creating a nonprofit. You're inspiring others because you're not just waiting for the need to present itself to you. You are looking for it. I mean, the proof is that you don't know who you're giving to in October, but you're looking for that opportunity, and you're going to inspire hundreds of photographers to give to it. You're actively seeking for ways to meet needs. And that's the best way to live your life.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I would say too is like, if you're a young person and you're on this journey with Christ, like there is a little bit of a misconception that God will drop in your lap your life plan and what needs to happen, and kind of to what you're saying. And I think that he for sure has the ability to do that, and probably does it all the time. But there is something to be said about just running forward, just in any direction, just move forward. And even if you don't know, because even the nonprofit thing is like, I don't know. We don't know what it's going to be. We have no idea. And you're sitting at a table just like this, and you're like, how do we do this? How do we do it? Whatever. And it was literally the moment we said yes, relationships and people that knew what they were doing were like, hey, we'll just do this for you. Yeah. We had a guy come in and just say, hey, I'll just do your paperwork for your 501c3.
No way.
Which is a big deal. That's a lot of work. He's like, yeah, you need help with your bylaws and your articles of incorporation? Yeah.
Done.
I'll do it. I'm like, I don't even know what those words mean. But sweet. So
so you didn't have all your, you had no clue. Everything lined up.
No, we had an idea.
Hey, we're going to jump into it.
We're just going to go for it.
It's like the saying, it's easier to steer a running horse than to resurrect a dead one.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's cool is we serve a God that can resurrect dead things.
Yeah,
you know? And so even if somebody's listening and they feel dead, or they feel like they don't have the idea, or they don't have the motivation, or they don't have the knowledge or the skill set or the upbringing or the research, like whatever it may be, they feel like it's just dead in their life. We serve a God that can resurrect things and breathe new life into dead things, and which is awesome. But if you do have an idea, or you do have a passion, or you do have a little bit of resource, but you don't feel like you have all the answers, just move forward. Just jump into it. And those are kind of the miracle stories of like, this dude's like, I'll just give this to you for free. Let me do this for you.
And we need those ideas. So if you have those ideas, they're there for a reason. So you need to pursue them. And again, there's been ideas in our own life that we haven't pursued, and we've watched them come to fruition through someone else. And you can cheer them on and be there, but you're also sometimes like, man, why didn't we do that? Why didn't we just go for it? So even this is a beautiful idea. You just go for it. See where it takes you.
Just make it up as we go.
Yeah, make it up as you go. Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till
There's a lot of people doing that. They just won't tell you.
Oh, totally. And they're successful.
Everybody. Yeah.
Perry, what are you looking forward to in life? Obviously, you're about to be a dad.
Yeah.
That's major.
About to be a dad, and you're a dad, so you get it. There's things there are things in your life that just change. Yeah. It's hard to explain, and we're fairly young parents, and we're looking forward to that. Mainly because we want to do life with our kids as much as we can, and be there with them and walk with them in relationship.
Do you have to adjust things in the business world, like wedding world, all that? Like, how are you preparing?
Yeah,
like,
as booked a lot of weddings in June, and our baby's due in June, so that's kind of crazy. So walking through a new
starting
adventure
strong.
There. Yeah. If you're a photographer, try to have a baby not in the summer.
Yeah.
Good luck. You don't really control it, so have fun with that.
I mean, you could,
but you could control it.
Technically.
Yeah. Life.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like dad life goes, there's a lot of things that have just been reinforced. Like you, as a father, you will now be responsible, and you have daughters, so you can speak to it. As a father who has daughters in particular, you'll be responsible for curating the image of what a man will be in their life.
Yeah.
Because you're the first man in their life. And so that to me has this huge weight. Like, get your life right, get disciplined, get in the way, And there are all these goals we had that Mariah and I had, like as far as like our daily Devo life and how God, interacts with our day-to-day actions and what we do. That we're like, eventually, someday we're going to want to, whatever. Every leader that I look up to that's leading anyway, whether they're male or female, they all start their day with some sort of form of the gospel, whether it's praise and worship or they're reading. And then it's not like they're doing this intense Bible study, but they start every morning. Yeah, but maybe they are reminding themselves of why they're there, what they're doing, and getting, that. And it was like, man, someday we'll get there. And I'm like one of the guys that's probably like every couple days you nail it out of the park, and then the other days you stayed up too late, whatever. Yeah. And the moment we found out we're having a baby, it was like, you got to get all that. Yeah. If you don't do that right now, you'll never do it. Yeah. So do it. Yeah. And so, just kind of preparing that way. We took on a major house renovation. I'm kind of an optimistic person, so I think I can always do more than I probably can. Bro, you say crazy. That, but you do so much. Yeah. Maybe you have more in your heart to do, but like the stuff that you can crank out is insane. Like but home renovation stuff.
You were telling me before this conversation, you were up till 4 a.m. Ripping.
We ripped the carpet up. Yeah, got it down to the subfloor, the bottom. I don't know what the construction term is. Something. It's just plywood.
Yeah, you're redoing a house.
Yeah, and then redoing the siding and molding. But I had to do it in a time frame, and I'm not like a carpenter by trade, or I've never done it. So it's like take all these tools and learn. You learn pretty quick when you cut a board too short.
Yeah, but you're the dude that's like, you have this big dream, and you just make it happen. But you do make it happen. That's crazy.
You just, and I think it's a blessing and a curse, because you're like, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Then sometimes you're like, I can do it, but oh man.
Yeah. Sometimes I have this feeling that creeps up every once in a while, where it's like, because I feel like God's given me like the ability to have new ideas or vision or whatever it may be, like new project to start.
Yeah.
And I'm jacked about it. And because I don't know if like the season of my life at that time is like, I've got my ducks in a row, like with what I'm currently dealing with. So let's try this new idea. Let's try this next thing. You know, I don't know if I'm addicted to adrenaline. Somebody told me that one time. Maybe I'm addicted to like this feeling of like I need to have this next thing, or I need to have this new project when things start to get like really routine. Anyways, these ideas, but then I'll have this feeling of like, why did I make my life more complicated? Because it's already complicated enough. Like, so then I'm overwhelmed, and then I'm thinking, did I make the right choice? Should I not have done this? Like, and I don't know if you ever feel that way of like, man, I feel like I bit off more than I could chew.
Yeah, and I think it's those seasons of life. There was a year of my life that I was a senior in college, so I was double time. I was doing 18 credits every 16 weeks. So just trying to finish, ended up going to college, stopped going to college to pursue photography, took like a summer off, which I guess isn't really stopping college, and decided to go back in the fall and finish. Yeah. And it was like, I'm going to finish this, but I'm going to do it as fast and, as right as I can. So doing a ton of college credits at the same time as working full time and getting married. All in 1 year. And so all these life changes, you're moving, doing these things. And I remember there was a little bit of it where you wake up and you're upset with your life. You have created a life that you do not enjoy. Yeah. Every day there's something on the calendar. There's 2 dots or whatever, a dot. And you can't do anything about it. It just is what it is. So it's in those moments where you're like, I will never do this again. I will never do this again. And then you might do it again. And like third time around, you're like, I'm not doing this again. Yeah. So
I think part of that is God expanding your capacity,
Yeah.
Like, because we're growing and we're changing, and God's doing so much in our life, and these ideas, a lot of them are God given.
Yep.
And hopefully we're being led like by the Lord to step into faith stuff. Like, I don't know how it's going to work, but I have this idea. Let's do it. Let's figure it out.
Yep.
But it's God expanding your capacity to be able to handle that stuff.
Yeah.
And the leader you are today, and the businessman that you are today, the husband you are today, is because you've taken these like steps of faith. Like when I got married, it's like, I loved Kaylee, but it was like faith step. Like, am I ready to be a husband? I don't know. Like, and I remember talking with her dad, like, am I ready to be the provider for her? Am I able to live up to this guy who's a legend? My father-in-law is amazing, the most gentle, the most gentle. Like, am I able to love and serve this woman who's about to be my wife? Like, am I ready for this? Same thing with becoming a dad is like, but it's all these like faith steps. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm ready. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know financially if I'm ready to have a kid, all these things, but you take these faith steps and it's like this expanding of capacity. And now I love my daughter, but every once in a while I have this feeling of like, man, I think it would be awesome to just be out on a tractor. Yeah. Mowing a lawn,
doing your thing.
Like, why can't I just sit, sit and that's my job, like simpler life, like
no. And I think, I'm right there with you. Each thing, but each one of those moments that you say, because I think in Christian world, those things are big life choices, and people are like, I'm not ready. Yeah. So I was like, well, none of us were. Yeah. I mean, the moment that you show up with a game plan and you have it down and it goes exactly as you have it written down. We just did birth class. Let me just do this transition. Birth class for any gentleman out there.
Tell us about it.
Life changing.
Really? And like a good thing. We skipped all the classes. We just like.
I mean, it depends. It depends on
the first 6 months
like
of having our first kid was like we thought we were gonna die.
Yeah.
So we skipped all the classes. So maybe we should have done the classes.
I don't know. All I'm saying is you get an education. It's like 9-10 health class, on steroids. So any of you ever had that class? Like just get ready. I mean, our first birth class, it was like you're watching too many births. You're like, wow.
You're watching videos?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. And they're like VHSs, so it's
no
legit.
Thanks. Yeah.
Live through a test of time.
No thanks.
Anyways, but you do birth class, and it's like my favorite thing in the world because you get 10 couples, 10 couples in a room that are all new parents that never had a kid before, all in every season of life you've ever imagined. So there's young people, there's older folks, like everybody's having their first kid. And then you tell them all, so all the women that were there were just so like mesmerizing because their body is changing. They're going through it.
Oh yeah, they got the kid inside.
Yeah, and as a dad, your life is changing, but you're not carrying the baby. So it's kind of these out. They always say it's like these outside effects of it. So like financially and life-wise, relationship, all those things are changing.
Yep.
And it was just the funniest thing because there's this woman that's in our birth class and she's, showing, not to give too much detail, but she's showing like she has this skeletal pelvis. She's like showing how the body works when you're having birth. And if you want to YouTube it, don't YouTube that. But
no thanks.
Please don't. When you get there, you'll understand. But it's just hilarious because all these women, they're fascinated, and all the guys are like, this is very interesting. Like, am I supposed to look at you while you're showing the skeletal pelvis, or like look away? Like, it's kind of awkward to look at you.
Appropriate?
Like, what's appropriate? So it's funny because it's all these guys that are making awkward side eye contact.
Yeah, nobody knows what to do.
Yeah, no one knows what to do. Which most births right there. You don't know what you're doing, but you're having a baby, and it's the most amazing thing in the world. So, but anyways, to go back,
shout out to birth class.
Yeah, shout out to birth class. And women, you guys are amazing. You do crazy thing. That's incredible. But for us, like, I don't even know where I was going with that. Somewhere.
It's all good.
Birth class. Yeah, you could do it or not do it.
Well, my wife's pregnant right now, and
why is there both pregnant?
I mean, it's amazing. You just inspired me to not do the birth class.
Wonderful.
So I'll just skip
there you go. Save some money.
We've already done it.
Yeah, you're good.
Anyways,
you got a kid,
dude. Perry, cool. I think the world of you and your wife. I think you're amazing, and obviously your journey is super unique. The whole point of this podcast is, it's called "The Making of an Exception."
Yeah.
And the story that you have and who you are today, you're an exception to the rule, and that's true. You're an anomaly, and the fact that you're as generous as you are, you're living on purpose, you're making a difference, you're light in the dark, all this stuff about who you are is amazing. I'm excited to see, where God takes you, what's next for you, with Photos That Give, with your business life, with your family life. I love that. Yeah, the things that matter to you is being present, being available, meeting needs, seeking that out. And a goal of mine, and I know a goal of yours, like marry to the same person the rest of our lives, and be present in our children's lives and things like that. So I just want to say thanks so much for hanging out today and having a chat. 2 quick questions. First one, what's your favorite book that you've ever read?
Favorite book. So the book that changed my life, and it's pretty easy read, but it's by Bob Goff. It's called Love Does, and it's not hard to read, but for me, that book was, it's basically like 30 some chapters of stories.
Yeah.
And they're just stories of this radical guy's life that just chose to love everybody. So it's an
easy
read.
Goff.
Yeah. Easy read. Nothing crazy. We read it freshman year of college, and reading that, it was.
I remember one of the chapters is like when he had young kids, he had his kids write letters to like foreign diplomats and presidents and government leaders, and somehow a lot of them like responded to these letters, and they got invites, and so they I think it goes like he took a year off, like his kids took a year off of school, and they traveled the world going to palaces and different like amazing places. Like that's what the book's about, like this guy that lives this insane life and loving people everywhere. So
he like gives people keys to his front door. That's their gift, and they work.
That's crazy.
So they can come over whenever they want. So I love that book. He just wrote another book called Everybody Always, and I just finished that book. And so both of those, I guess I answered the question.
Bob Goff.
2 Bob Goff books. They've changed my life as far as perspective goes. Yeah. And they're a good reminder of someone that's older, that's still on fire for their wife and their kids and loving people. Yeah. So
second question is, if you had one piece of advice for somebody that's following in your footsteps? Somebody, maybe it's photography, but just the life you're living, that they're looking up to you saying, man, I want to follow that dude. Yeah. One piece of advice.
Yeah. Get some people in your life that are doing what you want to be doing. Yeah. So reach out to them. Like, we live in the coolest age ever where you are connected with any creative that's on social media from, just you're a message away from anybody. Yeah. So that alone, that piece of advice has changed our nonprofit. It's changed the relationships, the friends that I have. Like, most of my friends that are photographers were all, I interacted with them somehow on social media. Yeah. And that's how I got to meet them. And so for me, that alone, so that opportunity, and take the opportunity to be the awkward person that reaches out. Yeah. Because oftentimes people are just willing to meet. They just need somebody to ask. Don't be creepy, like creepy dude, but
like sitting on their front porch, like, hey sir,
hey, I see you right now. Don't start a message that's creepy. Yeah. But
have mentors in your life, people that you look up to.
Yeah. Cause that's helped that we have, and we're so thankful they're our greatest friends. But couples in our life, like you guys, they are living a life that's on fire for each other, on fire for the Lord, and ready for the changes that are coming. They're ready for, or trying to prepare for what is life going to throw at them, and how can we react in a way that's the most loving? Because that's the most contagious part about the gospel for me. I mean, at the end of the day, it's this gospel of no matter what happens, if you are wronged, God has a response for you, and it is not the response you feel. Typically.
Wow.
Almost every single time. Which I love, because it's a challenge to grow. So
let's end it there. That's awesome. Perry, thanks for being here again. You are an exception to the rule, and trying to figure out a sign-off thing. Yeah. As a rule, remember. You're
going to sing, right?
Yeah, I'm going to sing a song. That's how I'm going to end every episode.
You got a jingle.
No, as a rule, for those of you listening, be an exception to the rule. Peace. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, we'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. We've got new episodes releasing every single week. We'd also love to hear your questions or comments. You can comment below. You can also find us on Instagram at Exception Podcast. And I want to give a quick shout out to our producer, Tissel. My name's Kirk Graham, and we'll see you back next week.